Hi, I'm Derek.
And I'm John, and we're from Defenders TV Podcast.
You're listening to the Damnation crossover event on Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Hey guys, it's Rod Reyes here, artist of Marvel's Damnation comic book event. Welcome to the podcast crossover between Inner Demons, Sons of the Dragon, Defenders TV Podcast, and Into the Night. Every issue reviewed, all tie-in books discussed. May all be damned.
Welcome back, one and all, to another episode, a supplemental episode, if you will, of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. A podcast dedicated to everything Moon Knight, except not in this episode, where it's all Scarlet Spider, but we're not changing the name. I'm your first host on this web-slinging adventure, Connor.
And I'm your other host, Ray. And in this episode, episode 36, we are continuing our Damnation podcast crossover event. And we will be looking at Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider number 16. Yes, so grab your issues out, sit back, relax, and get your Khonshu on.
Yes, thank you for joining us once again with episode turnover. Who knows how long it'll be since the last episode that you were getting this into your ears. It'll at least be less than a week. Because yes, we were graced with not one, but two issues to review this week, and we like to give them a nice length of time. So if you are joining us and haven't checked out the last episode, we had a great panel of Ray, Rebecca, and Chad from the Moon Knight core page.
Yes.
And they delved into the latest news and a review of the latest issue of the Bemis and Burrows run, Moon Knight issue 193. So by all means, check that one out before you arrive here. But yes, we're covering the latest issue of the Scarlet Spider, the next part of the Damnation tie-in event that has been firing on all engines between ourselves, Defenders TV podcast, Inner Demons, and Immortal Iron Fist podcast, with all respective episodes coming out just firing on all cylinders. So We'll have links to those. We'll probably what's the word? Advertise them later at the end of the show. I don't know. Yeah, check out all those reviews.
Yep. And look, I must say it's as much fun and an awesome time as I had with Rebecca and Chad. It's always lovely to have the other co-host Connor Shu back with us. So glad to have you back, Connor. It's great. I'm raring to go for this Scarlet Spider issue 16. A little bit of hesitancy in my voice in the intro there because I think I put in the note 17. So just trying to correct myself. But yes, it's certainly issue 16. Yeah, Connor, the Damnation event has been travelling along quite nicely. I believe Inner Demons has just dropped their episode of Damnation 3.
Yeah, which I think once again has been an event that has had a pretty good main event, but with some incredible tie-ins actually. I know we've had the Doctor Strange ones coming out. We covered an issue of Scarlet Spider. Mm-hmm. I recently read the latest Iron Fist run, which will be on Mortal Iron Fist, which was amazing. And the Johnny Blaze one-shot arrived this week that Inner Demons will be covering, which was also just incredible, with all of them receiving just such an incredible array of artists on each book.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Oh, yeah, they the Inner Demons have the privilege of reviewing the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider one-shot, which I read also just last night, not long ago as well, and that has beautiful art by Phil Noto, so a real treat to look at that. And of course, look, not wanting to tread on the Inner Demons guys' toes, so you'll have to go check out their podcast for that review. But needless to say, Connor, I was quite happy with that issue as well. The tie-ins really seem to be a strength for the Damnation event.
For sure, and I think they've honestly been the part that I've really most looked forward to. You know,
yeah, for
we
sure.
have the final issue to come, but I think we've also got another 4 tie-ins or something just to make this event feel like we're coming to a proper, exciting conclusion.
Yeah. And since in episode 35, which was just recently released, we kind of went through our Moon Knight news and such with Rebecca and Chad. Connor, we just have Over the Moon, so we can take our sweet time to review this little chestnut here, which is Scarlet Spider 16.
Hell yeah! Another one after our let's say our surprisingly loved review of the last issue from a lot of newcomers or recently converted to the run. So now so this is our second part after a little bit of a nice setup in the previous issue, and now we've got this whole new issue with plenty of its own plot twist that we haven't seen in the main story.
Yeah, and look, before we get into it, I might just also add as well, and it was touched upon with the Moon Knight issue that came out, issue 193. It seems to be a trend at the moment, or there's always been a trend, I guess, Connor, of the covers to these comic book issues not necessarily reflecting what is actually inside the book. I mean, so it's very much so with the Scarlet Spider as well, over here with the front cover. But before we get into that, I guess, I think it's time, Connor, to go over the moon.
Hell yeah! So I guess I shall lead the charge with the bare bones this week. We have no guest narrator, just my sad, sorry voice from returning from the other void.
I'm sure the loonies would love to hear it, Connor.
Oh, they got it every week. Need the spice of life. Yes, I suppose I'll just crack straight into this. Is a saying.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that. I think. With Ben Reilly, The Scarlet Spider, Volume 1, Issue 16, released the 28th of March, 2018, with writer Peter David, artist Will Sliney, colorist Rochelle Rosenberg, letterer VC's Joe Caramagna?
I don't know.
And editor Devin Lewis. The Midnight Suns are joined by the Scarlet Spider as they battle the demonized Avengers, all at the hands of Mephisto. It's Wong who leads the likes of Elsa Bloodstone, Blade, Iron Fist, Moon Knight, Man-Thing, and Brother Voodoo. And as much as they need help from Ghost Rider, the Ghost Rider Avengers, Scarlet Spider is needed elsewhere. Wong directs the Scarlet Spider to take care of the demons running amok in Las Vegas, and to prevent any demons from reaching the Hotel Inferno. As the Midnight Suns battle to stave off the demon Avengers, Scarlet Spider is needed to keep the coast clear. It isn't as easy as it sounds, however, as Ben Reilly has problems distinguishing demons from normal folk. His once trusty spider sense fails to detect any danger, and it's only from his own superhuman reflexes that the Scarlet Spider is able to avoid the demon's clutches. At first he is greeted by a pair of police officers who ask if Scarlet Spider requires any assistance. In the blink of the eye, they reveal to be possessed and attack Ben Reilly. A healthy dose of webbing settles the score, and before long, they are held safely within the boot of their police car. Bloody page. Immediately after, a desperate band of folk approach Scarlet Spider, having seen his encounter with the cops. Before Ben Reilly can explain, they too turn out to be demons. The yuppie joggers, hipsters, and couple all unsheath their knives and launch into the fray. Elsewhere within Mercury Towers, Slade tries to calm the agitated crowd kept inside the casino. The doors to Mercury Towers are strengthened and are able to keep the demons out for now. Jezebel, the small girl whom Scarlet Spider previously encountered, manages to slip outside, and astonishingly, she scares off all the demons who see her. The mystery of Jezebel thickens, further as she's seen entering a house on the outskirts of Las Vegas. As she enters through the front door, the whole house appears to disappear, with a black hole beneath. Back in the city, Ben Reilly is still having a hard time distinguishing between local resident and demon foe. Having dispatched the wave of possessed civilians, Ben Reilly encounters a man who claims to have lost his wife and daughter. Not to be fooled again, Ben Reilly rips the sunnies from the man's face, only to reveal deep, bloodshot eyes. Convinced he too is a demon, Reilly beats on the man, and has the man beat on himself too. His wife and daughter arrive and stop the fight. The man is not possessed, and his demon eyes are merely due to an inflammation of the middle layer, or uveitis as it's clinically known. The Scarlet Spider tries to apologize for his mistake, the small family leave in a huff. A little girl kicking Ben Reilly in the shin as a parting shot. Shortly after his minor bungle, none other than Mephisto appears behind the Scarlet Spider and voices interest in Riley's damaged soul, and highlighting the fact that Riley can't seem to tell the difference between friend and foe. He transports both of them away from the city and onto the peak of Devil's Tower, part of Bear Lodge Mountains in northeast Wyoming. Mephisto offers to help the Scarlet Spider. He can purify his soul, as well as return Aunt June and cure Abigail, the little girl Riley promised to help. Mephisto can do all this for Ben Reilly, if only he agrees to join Mephisto. As deals with the devil go, the Scarlet Spider agrees, and he shakes on it.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, that's a great ending. And thanks, Connor, for that bare bones. Yeah, a very entertaining tie-in and evidence again that the tie-ins are quite strong and quite standalone from the core event. So this one, Connor, is pretty independent from what's happening in the core books.
Yeah, and fairly important as well. I imagine this deal with the devil will be fairly important to Damnation issue 4. The big conclusion. So
yeah, absolutely.
Almost necessary. Well, necessary reading to really get the full scale of everything you're about to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there is the big game changer is this thing that Scarlet Spider has made a deal with Mephisto. So this actually got me quite intrigued and kind of left wondering what's going to happen next. We've got one more issue of Damnation, the core books, and we have one more Scarlet Spider to wrap things up. So, interesting times ahead. Also, Connor, did you like I did a bit of research there. I located where Devil's Tower was. Being a mere Aussie, I thought I'd just Wikipedia it. So, in Wyoming somewhere, and part of the Bear Lodge mountain range. Just to give it a bit of context there. But I guess before we get into it, Connor, first off, overall impressions. What did you think of this issue 16?
Yeah, a very strong issue. Once again, I think it's kind of a nice mix of action and writing, where I feel, once again, the conversations had between, what do they say? Damaged souls, damn souls, and the evil beings that rise above them really sort of shine through. We saw last issue, the big highlight was the talk between Ben and Jezebel, and this issue I think really sort of stuck the landing in the second half and made this issue pretty great with the conversation with Mephisto.
Yeah, I enjoyed this issue as well. I thought it was great. I think it added, again, I can't hark on it enough. It again adds a bit more to the overall story with what we mentioned before with Ben Reilly and Mephisto, but also Peter David manages to flesh out Jezebel a bit more, and I'm not sure, Connor, as well, if that is also in aid of the overall or continual arc in the Scarlet Spider or not, but it's nice to have these other characters just on the periphery of Damnation and still tied to it. The big reveal here for me for Jezebel was that she obviously she's feared amongst demons, which I guess we'll get into. But I really enjoyed it. Had a nice mix of action, as you say, and I am a bit of a fan of the art, so I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. So I suppose there's a lot of things going on. Once again, as Ray brought up, after hearing the bare bones and seeing the cover, that there's a few absences on that cover. I got really excited seeing Kane on there.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome seeing him here, and yet,
I know. It's and very misleading. Obviously, you're right. Kane, who is not seen at all in the issue, but you see Wong and Ben Reilly fighting, back to back against a horde of demons, which again, we see in the first couple of pages that Wong stays with the Midnight Suns and deals with the Avengers, while it's pretty much a standalone issue with Scarlet Spider. So yeah, it's covers seem to be blatantly misleading these days. But hey, look, it was a pretty cool cover art, as cover arts go, and before we get into the aspects, Connor, I just want to I guess drop. We're on our Moon Knight watch, and Mooney. After all, we are doing ITK podcast. Mooney is all in but one panel, I think, in this whole book. So, rightly so, it is a Scarlet Spider book, but we get an obligatory Mooney shot there.
Yeah, he's scowling a bit as we see him running all into the fray. He's kind of bang center in the middle with a Man-Thing.
Yep.
Pretty nice art though. He really went to it when it came to the really defined lines and the mask clinging to the suit, which is a pretty cool look and idea.
Yeah, I think definitely, I hate to say it, but Will Sliney draws Moon Knight way better than Kodransky, I think, in the core books at the moment.
Yeah.
So, although it's only one little panel, it is good to see him look proper, and his moon crescent on his forehead is the right way. So, attention to detail is highly important. All right. Well, Connor, do you want to crack open an aspect then? What's one of the first things that kind of stood out for you in this issue?
Well, I suppose we almost have sort of two, an aspect each that covers the first and second half. So I'll kick off with the first half and leading from Will Sliney that this very much first half of this is an action-orientated issue. First half is his instructions to go lead the charge outside and get the beat down. Full of quips and gunfire and some really fun web slinging. I thought it was, I think, I wasn't the last issue. The art didn't quite do it for me as much as I, knew it was good. But this issue, I really loved it. I think there was some really nice, clean artwork with the really strong inks.
Yeah.
A lot of solid action and movement between each panel. Very, very kinetic, I think. And you've got a great note on one of the other strong points of why this issue works, why this action works so well.
Yeah. I mean, well, the action's great, isn't it? And rightly say, it's just non-stop. And what I want to point out with the action is that it kind of oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, Wong kind of places a lot of trust in the Scarlet Spider, in the fact that sure, the Midnight Suns are fighting the Avengers, which you don't see except for a few panels in this book. But Wong actually sends Ben Reilly out to tackle all the demons. So fair enough, the Avengers are dangerous. There's a fair few of them there, and they're all Ghost Riders. But Scarlet Spider he hasn't got his, he's got his work cut out for him. And not only do we see, briefly in the first couple of pages, the nice splash page to begin with of the Midnight Suns fighting the Ghost Rider Avengers, but we get a fair few battles that Scarlet Spider has to contend with, albeit successful or not. And yeah, it's great to see, I think. It's great to see him in action, not using his artillery or his arsenal as much as I would have thought, but he still looks pretty cool in it, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's sort of still kind of still sort of a hero side. He's not ready to just shoot at civilians helplessly.
Yeah,
he's still relying on those web swinging tactics.
Yeah.
Solid quips as well, as always. It's a good Spider-Man book should deliver as well. I think that was tempered really nicely through the action.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. And, there was a good slab of humour in this. In particular, look, if we talk about fight scenes, the one with is it Jimmy, who has a uveitis?
Yeah.
And I loved how he made him punch himself and him calling out on it, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. I think that little run of panels right in the middle by Sliney was really neatly done, just small identical panels, and you get the sense of poor Jimmy just whacking himself.
Yeah, and I just love as well the way the web works on those pages as well, and just a few others. The way they like to position it coming off screen is we're almost pitching it from the first person coming, firing from the canister straight at them.
Yeah,
and we just see some really strong web slinging, which I always appreciate. I'm a big web head, and I think web slinging is just what you got to get right. Nice webs, well detailed, a lot of whips and.
Well, he certainly uses his webs a lot, especially here as well. You know, he starts off with webbing, like just the underpass of, to stop the demon horde just going through. And so he must go through a fair few canisters there, and he tries to contain the demonized locals. And then as you go ahead, as he comes up to the demon cops, he webs them, as you say, in the face, and then he webs them again and puts them in the boot. And then the group of disparate civilians, again, he webs them all as well. So it's good. It's good to see that. I mean, previously, Scarlet Spider was a bit morally iffy. You know, I mean, this is certainly in the beginning of his of the volume, what I've read just recently. As I mentioned, I think last time we discussed it, in one of the first issues, he shoots a mugger in the kneecaps because, just because the mugger deserves it, he claims. Now he's not obviously going for the kill, which is good, and I wonder if that's a development that he's gone through throughout the more recent issues of Scarlet Spider, because I haven't read that. Have you read like issue 13 onwards or 12 onwards, Connor?
Yeah, I have. That's definitely always been like a core principle of his character. Something he's always struggled with. We see Mephisto talking about at the end. That constant, inner fighting between almost like something pulling him towards the violence of a villain or the heroic actions.
Yeah, and it's a great way of incorporating. So this is obviously the grand plan of Peter David, I think, because you see it throughout the run. This morally ambiguous kind of hero. And yeah, you kind of see it through the run, and I like it how they've incorporated this idea with Damnation and with the demons and with Mephisto, and now Mephisto potentially kind of swaying the Scarlet Spider to join his forces. So look, out of all the Midnight Suns as well, his power set is pretty high. I mean, any Spider hero is a pretty powerful hero in their own right. So for Mephisto to have the Scarlet Spider on his side, I mean, actually, having said that, he's already got Doctor Strange on his side, doesn't he? So he's got all the big hitters. It's going to be pretty hard. Yeah.
Plus, most of the civilians of Las Vegas not doing too bad for himself.
Yeah, so he's building his army. So very interesting stuff. Look, off the back of the action-oriented first half, I mean, I guess all these aspects do kind of meld in, Connor. The first aspect I put was and I think the main thing was the differentiation between good and evil, and this was shown most blatantly, I think, in this issue, especially with the old 1-2 punch of Scarlet Spider first meeting up cops who he gets fooled. He thinks that they're good, but they turn out to be demons. Then he meets a group of people. Again, he gives them the benefit of the doubt, but they turn out to be demons. And then the third run with Jimmy, looks like a biker or a hippie, he said, I'm not going to get fooled here. And he mistakenly assumes that he's a demon. So, that old kind of trope of the third one kind of going against you. And I think this thing of Ben Reilly not being able to differentiate or use his spider sense really does accentuate how his soul, I think, is in jeopardy. I mean, I was reading the early issues on, and I don't know if you remember, Connor, he has a meeting with Death. She was Marlo Chandler, in the guise of Marlo Chandler. This was I think in the second volume. And Death shows him his soul, and like he he and Death go to, I don't know, the limbo or wherever all the souls are kept, and they're all kind of like big pearls, and they come flying out and around. They look really beautiful. And Death, she reaches into his chest and she pulls out his like pearl or his soul, and it's cracked and black. Do you remember that, Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah, and anyway, that I thought was a really great symbol of like how much in trouble Scarlet Spider is with his soul, so he's really teetering on the edge, and I think Mephisto is making the most of this, and he's going for the low-hanging fruit, i.e. the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, and I think just on that point of the, the cracked soul, I think what the Immortal Iron Fist lovely peeps over there are going to be talking about as well is, they talk about, how is Iron Fist damned, and that issue worked to sort of prove that as well. This issue worked to do the same thing, almost proving why these characters are damned and their decisions, and, it's just, that's the good thing about the tie-ins, that, we do have Peter David writing these tie-ins as well, he's able to do everything that he's done in the series before and make this a natural progression of the series. And then, solicitations also show how it builds from this event as well, which is really good.
Yeah, look, I think, you're right as well. We have to remember that all the other Midnight Suns are, in essence, all damned as well. And you do see that with Iron Fist, as you say, which will be covered, in Sons of the Dragon, but also in Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider. So, look, spoilers here if you haven't read Damnation 3, and strongly urge that you do, and also listen to the Inner Demons podcast review on it. But what happens at... Oh, actually, was it the end of 3 or 2? When Mephisto pushes Johnny Blaze out
That's 3.
That's 3, yeah. And so anyway, in Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, the one-shot, we see what happens when Johnny Blaze, in effect, just dies. And again... his soul is damned, so he, he's not dead and buried yet, and he goes through his own journey. So we start seeing all the characters going through their own journey. It's a pity that we don't have Moon Knight in there as well. If only, but having said that, I'm glad that Bemis is still doing what he does. But yeah, they're all damaged souls, aren't they? So it's
yeah, I guess I'll lead on with. Oh, am I sneezing? Let's find out. Oh, not quite.
Nah.
My third aspect, which was probably what made this issue so great in the second half, and just kind of works so well with pacing an issue, is the real mind games that set up, This issue, so quickly managed to establish his rules and then just pull them apart as we see the webs disappear. We see,
Oh, yes.
the rules with the way he faces his Spidey sense and the civilians, and seeing that obviously torn apart by the with poor Jimmy, and just all that, and seeing the Mephisto reveal at the end there, that obviously he'd been doing all of this, was just such a fantastic way of pacing an issue, and just sort of really pulling the reader along with at this pace, without sort of giving away too much or making it just feel like an outsider. You do really feel in these, as we see him face off and things change and the webs disappear and the constant reveals of demons, just made me feel so much more engaged. And then as we went into the final bit with the fantastic conversation with Mephisto, we had this build up, we had just what Mephisto was doing to Ben to get him to the point where he could so easily pull Ben to his side, was just fantastic. And both shows Peter David is a great writer, shows Ben Reilly is a super flawed individual, and Mephisto is this sort of reality bending master, like a supervillain.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. And actually, one thing that you've reminded me, Connor, as well, is with the mind games, with the spider sense. So how does this work? Because what was it? I think, was it Damnation 2 or actually Scarlet Spider 15? Ben Reilly mentioned that his spider sense actually was drawing him towards the Ghost Rider Avengers. You know how we kind of used it to track them, to find out where they were? And in this issue, we see his spider sense kind of not really helping him at all, not showing him where any of the danger is. I wonder if that has anything to do, I don't know, with the mind games or his soul itself, or I guess the reason why his spider sense isn't working properly, because it seemed to work against the Ghost Rider Avengers, but in this issue it clearly doesn't work, and I'm not sure what outside forces have are responsible for that.
Yeah, and even that makes me wonder whether that was Mephisto tampering with him as well to lead him towards the Ghost Rider Avengers, which would lead to this, which would lead to him selling his soul to the devil. Almost like the first, pawns being lost.
Yeah, so, very interesting.
And
Sorry?
I suppose that's also pulled on something that Spider-Man history has always played with, almost in every era of Marvel history. There's been, all these inklings that possibly the spider sense and the spider bite has always been some sort of mystical power, like that.
Oh, yeah, there was that ancient spider or something that's in the web of the cosmos or something. I'm not really up to date with it, but I do remember that from Spider-Verse. Yeah,
and there was stuff in the JMS Spidey run, and before that, in fact, like in the Darm Web, that always existed. So it just kind of works there as well with this drawing of Mephisto and the way he's so easily able to tamper with basically his domain in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, and that kind of leads into, I guess, the second aspect. I think the second big thing of this issue for me, and that obviously was the second half, like the final act of this issue with Scarlet Spider and Mephisto trying to coax Ben Reilly to come to the dark side. We first get a vision of Mephisto there leaning up against a street lamp. He's all in white. Again, we see a different version of Mephisto. Kind of every single issue has been different, which I think may be a conscious thing from the editors. I guess as the devil, he can appear in many guises. I guess that's the thing. But he's looking a bit more classic, except for the stark white outfit. And any connection to Moon Knight there, Connor, you reckon?
Just such a fan of his fashion.
That's it.
Making it his own line.
But I found this quite intriguing, and as we've kind of covered before, this big thing about Mephisto highlighting to Ben that even Ben himself doesn't know what's good or bad or what's right or wrong. And Mephisto saying that since he deals with souls, he can actually purify Ben's soul. So if you imagine again that cracked black orb, he can actually turn that back to a shiny, pearl-like clean soul. So he's offering that, but we all know, and I'm sure kind of you thought this as well when you read it, we all know you cannot trust or you never make deals with the devil. So while Mephisto is spouting all this, I can bring back June, I can save Abigail, they all sound so enticing, don't they? And for Ben Reilly, I'm sure they are, and to purify his soul. But you just know this is not, he's going to ask something big of you. So, and in true Ben Reilly unhinged fashion, he accepts it. So we'll have to see how it goes from there. But what do you reckon, Connor? Do you think the Scarlet Spider has something up his sleeve? Do you think he is going into this with a plan, or do you think he generally buys into Mephisto's sweet talking?
Yeah, I really don't know, and I suppose that's what makes it, so exciting. Just as like a good cliffhanger, because, obviously, Ben isn't dumb. He's not.
No.
I think he's basically dealt with the devil and death many times over, basically. But also as well, this issue sort of goes to prove that he is at his wit's end. Once again, he isn't entirely there. He's made mistakes. He's bottom of the barrel. Not even sure as and sort of maybe Mephisto really did get him as his most desperate time to with Aunt June gone and the fate of Abigail and being dealt with Jezebel, like, maybe it's true, and it's just he was that desperate to say yes. We don't know.
And again, because I've only just been reading the volume 2 of the Scarlet Spider, when he meets up with Death, she does point out that he is quite unique. Many characters, and I think many heroes and villains come back from the dead all the time in the Marvel universe. But Death points out to him that he is quite distinct because he's come back the most times, or like his soul has been recycled so many times. And it's just that kind of uniqueness, I think, which kind of sets him apart from when Mephisto offers him this deal. So I guess that would be weighing in his mind, that he, in order for his soul to be healed or whatever, he really needs something big to happen. And I guess Mephisto, dealing with souls, he's just the guy to do it. So very interesting. We'll see. He's got the stranglehold on a lot of heroes now as well, doesn't he, Connor? He's got Doctor Strange on the ropes. I can't even say what he's got Iron Fist under, but he sent Iron Fist somewhere. And hang on, I'm just trying to think, how did Iron Fist...
He got Penance Stared.
Penance Stared, that's right. Yes, right.
And then kind of got awoken somewhere else,
right,
in an entire different part of Vegas.
Okay, so it wasn't directly Mephisto, but he's really getting to all these hero, and he got the Avengers pretty easily. So he's a pretty bad dude. How about your other have we covered your aspects? Oh, we have.
We have indeed, the mind games.
Oh, the mind games. So all 4 of them. So there you go. Loonies, the big issues of this issue. It kind of flew by, this issue, Connor. I don't know about you, but I really do. Despite what happens outside in the real world and stuff, I really do like Peter David's writing. I think it's quite easy to read, and it flows so well. I don't know. Do you get the sense of that as well?
Actually, I do. There's been some stuff with Peter David.
Yeah,
but, I'm not quite sure we're qualified to cover, but I have been a fan in his past. He did do, he basically wrote the most defining X Factor run.
Yeah.
That is just absolute quality.
Yeah, the Incredible Hulk was one of my favourite runs in the 90s with Peter David. He just tends to be one of the older guard of writers, I think, in Marvel at the moment that is still enjoyable. I mean, I guess it's all down to taste, but I'm thinking of the more recent Chris Claremont stories. I remember collecting the Nightcrawler limited series with Chris Claremont, and I was a little disappointed in that. But Jerry Conway's been okay as well. I read Carnage with Jerry Conway and Mike Perkins.
Nice, yep.
That was okay, actually. That was good. But Peter David, I don't know, just really easy to read. It's so I don't know, found it quite easy to read.
Yeah, I think he sort of found that his niche that way. This run of Ben Reilly isn't receiving accolades, but at the same time it also it makes itself an enjoyable, easy to fly through read as well. That has captured us, ourselves, Rebecca.
Exactly. I mean, his voice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was about to say his voices as well for characters are really good, I think, and really well defined. I mean, it's not hard to, I guess, distinguish Ben Reilly from the other characters, but if you read how Mephisto talks to Ben Reilly and Ben Reilly as well, and even the little girl, he's got a good grasp of distinguishing voices, which I think makes goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I forgot my point actually. Never mind.
Have we got any notes here, Connor? Any notes for this episode? Or this issue? I'll kick off with one. I do like the reference to Venom. I'm not sure if you saw that as well. Let me try and find the page. He talks about it looks like everyone these days has a Venom symbiote attached to them. And obviously, surely that's got to be a little dig at the the sheer popularity of Venom and all the offshoots of characters now that has come from Venom. Where is that page? He is... I can't find it immediately, no. But yeah, I do like that little reference. Yeah. Also, the other notes I had was Jezebel. I'd like to know in the more recent runs, more recent issues of Scarlet Spider, without, I guess, giving away too much if you can. But Jezebel, has her plot development or her character development been revealed in any sense, or is this a big reveal of her scaring the demons here?
She definitely made her appearance last issue. She's definitely tied into story threads, like there was I forget the big shady organization running through this issue, but she had ties to that in the last issue, but this was her first appearance. I remember Tommy,
yes,
actually I believe found that she was Mephisto's daughter, possibly. Name possibly recognized that, but this is totally new stuff.
Right, so it hasn't been revealed yet. It hadn't been revealed in between issues 11 till... No. Okay, yeah. Right, yeah, because Tommy, the man on our man on the streets, he's obviously... He's picked it like a dirty nose there. She's definitely got some sort of connection with the demons. But I thought that was good. That actually surprised me, because not having read, issues 11 onwards of Scarlet Spider, and knowing that, she's part of that consortium or something, but she definitely has sway with the demons, the evil side of the world, I guess. Look, the other note I had here kind of was more to do with the art, and I don't think I've noticed it more so in any other book than in Scarlet Spider, and it's the depth of field that they use in I guess in the artwork with the backgrounds. You know how they kind of blur it out as to give you that sense of depth? It's used constantly in Scarlet Spider, and I kind of like it. I mean, I really do. I think it really adds to it. But it's just used so much in here. Not to say that it's overused, but it's just so apparent. Do you know any other comics that use it so readily, or?
No, I don't actually. I can't say it at all, really. It seems something very deliberate, like a film's, constant use of slow-mo. Matrix-esque almost, but it seems like a definite thing with possibly the web slinging here really accentuates that from page to page.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think some panels definitely do it better than others. There's some really nice ones. I think the top of page 8 has a really nice shot of that really works well with the depth of field of Spidey moving around, but sometimes it's almost so overused it sort of just becomes normal again.
Yeah. I do love it, but I totally see what you mean. When it's used so much, I can't help but think that it's like Will Sliney just layering the drawings on each other. So when you have that shot of what are the two joggers? There's a yuppie and there's two guys standing there. I don't know. They almost seem like cutouts. Because of the blurred background. And then you see it again with Scarlet Spider on the panel below. Really good, I think, but just quite noticeable, that's all.
Yeah, totally. Which, either works for you or won't.
Yeah, true. And you've got one there, what's that, ABS?
Abs, mate.
Abs. Oh.
Top of page 8, mate. Will Sliney goes to town.
Yes, he does.
So Comixology, top of page 8, which if you're not including the cover and the recap page, would technically be page 6.
Oh, right, yes. Yes.
Page 8, yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was a medical term or something. I was like, okay.
You really see that that good old six-pack.
Yeah, the Scarlet Spider, he's with his, I don't know, the spider formula or his clone He's pretty cut as well. But yeah, he's keeping in shape, I guess. Yeah. So okay. So those are the notes. Just quickly flicking through here. Any other further? I guess that one page as well. Again in Comixology, if you look at page 19, it's just furthering Jezebel's story. She goes and knocks on a door. She goes in, and the whole house just disappears. I guess, Connor, is that just a seed to plant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Plant the seed. I think they did actually weave her narrative quite well. Paced. It didn't feel cut in like a bad ad or something. Just felt, nice and natural.
Yeah.
With story progression. I want to give a special mention. Kind of didn't have quite the aspect on it, but I just found that the writing between Mephisto and Scarlet Spider at the end there, as he makes the deal, just really strong and fun.
Yeah.
Ben Reilly seeing a really conflicted character with Mephisto, just sort of this really just a villain hamming it up with his his fashion, his flavor, everything. It just worked really well. It's just a lot of fun. Just sort of makes it a strong, fun issue.
And it's really concise, isn't it? Again, like going back to Peter David's writing, in no means is it like a really text-heavy kind of dialogue of Mephisto. It kind of really sums up things really succinctly, I thought. Props to Peter David for the writing. Look, another little note I've just got here again. Again, if you have your Comixology, just page 20. Despite what I said before, look, Ben Reilly does manage to use his guns finally, but it gets turned into a cocktail glass by Mephisto. So all that kind of gearing up by the gun shop owner, and getting his gear and doing all that, it's all for naught when he comes up to Mephisto, and just with a wave of his fingers, he can stop all the bullets, and he can just turn guns into cocktail glasses. So just a little nod there to his weaponry, I guess.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, having said that, Connor, and I think I mentioned this in episode 35 as well, what I plan to do is to, from now on, and to gradually go back, and what I'll do with our WordPress blog site as well, I'll actually add our Crescent Dart ratings at the bottom.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, just so anyone who is who's reading, who comes across the blog and reads the bare bones, can get a sense of, what we gave it. And hopefully still listen to the podcast as well. But yeah, I thought that would be a nice touch. So having said that, Connor, looking at issue 16 of Damnation in Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider, what would you give this?
I think I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 5 Crescent Darts.
Yep.
I think, just a really fun, solid issue. Good pacing, good action, some nice writing. I think it just worked well with furthering this tie-in, planting the seed further for both the event and, later on. I think it's almost like comparing it to an issue of something like Black Bolt, which has its main story, and something like, obviously it doesn't quite compare, but doing what you can with the tie-in, making it fun, once again, furthering the plot, good pacing. I think it really sticks out as a strong, solid issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, look, I'll give it 3.5 abs, Connor. I think.
Very nice. I think it's the full 6-pack there.
Full
Right?
Look, I hear you as well with what you say. I really enjoyed this issue as well. Not a standout, so it's not up there. Again, my yardstick is like some of the Lumiere issues for Moon Knight. It's nowhere kind of near that, but it's enjoyable. Like, it was an easy read. It actually adds. To me, it adds a bit more to the Damnation event, other than just a lot of fluff. I don't want to be disparaging of it, but like sometimes I get the sense of that. Sometimes with the core books, I think it's kind of padded out. With this, there's a distinct idea here. Look, the main idea was Ben Reilly's conflicting ideas of good and evil, and Mephisto using that. And a very simple idea, but it was told and elaborated in a very cool way by Peter David, by seeing him interact with the civilians, by within the first or second page, Wong telling him and explaining to the readers, look, don't hang around with the Midnight Suns, go do this. So the pace and the beats of it, I think, moved along really well. But having said that as well, I wouldn't give it a 4.5 because it's not, it's not like something that I'll be thinking about for the next few days. But it's still a very decent issue. So 3.5, I think 3.5 abs or crescent darts for that one. Righto, Connor. So that was our review of, I do believe it's like part 8 of our Damnation crossover event. We also have some feedback from some of our loonies. So, look, I'll take the short one. How about I'll give you the long ones, yeah?
All right.
Cool. So our first bit of feedback is from Derek, who is also one of the hosts of Defenders TV podcast. And he writes, really enjoyed this issue, I must say. We get one more before Damnation issue 4, though. So I'm wondering if these events will play directly into that, or will it be resolved in next issue? That is a very thoughtful question there, Connor. What do you reckon? Do you think it will be furthered in Damnation 4, or do you think it's still a standalone and it will just be dealt with in issue 17?
Yeah, I suppose that all relies on whether that deal with the devil actually goes through, whether in the next issue of Scarlet Spider it's kind of like a heart psych sort of thing, or maybe he really does, become another one of Mephisto's goons that we see face off in the conclusion of Damnation 4.
Yeah, it is hard to... because they do seem to run very independently of one another. I'm just thinking Damnation 3, we see Mephisto with his hands full with the Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. So, I'm sure he is a powerful being. I'm sure he can multitask. But, for me, Damnation 4 seems to be centered more on, I guess, the Midnight Suns. So I'll probably say it kind of resolved in issue 17. I hope to actually see a bit of it referred to, at least in Damnation 4. That will just give the tie-ins a bit more weight and connect it a bit more to the core books. But we'll have to just wait and see.
Yes, indeed. And I suppose that leads us into Logan Ryan Simmons' high praise, calling his probably my second favourite tie-in, right behind the most recent Doctor Strange 387, which has been stellar. Cool. Comment there.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Mephisto and our old MK had the same fashion sense? Yeah.
Yep.
And he says, I legitimately think that they put Mephisto in white for a story reason, though.
Mm-hmm.
He's placating and appeasing to Scarlet's sensibilities. In Scarlet's head, he wants there to be a clear-cut and defined evil versus good. Black versus white, without any room for the grey. Therefore Mephisto in all white. I love it. That is a fantastic sort of deconstruction there.
That is.
I didn't even think about that. That is very...
Yeah, that is a fantastic point. Yeah, well done, Logan. I think that is... And I don't think that's an interpretation. I think that was probably a well thought out thing from Peter David and Will Sliney, and I think you've picked up on it. So I would totally follow that. Poor Ben Reilly, teetering on good or evil. Of course, he'd want to think and be reassured that the guy that comes and says, "Look, come play for my side," is on the side of good. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and he adds as well. Also, what's with the black and white Spidey curse on the cover? I'm pretty sure he/she doesn't even show up. Mooney does, though. I believe that's 3 MK appearances in 1 week. Whoa, man. Yeah, I remember us talking about this in the lead-up as we heard solicitations. Just how excited we were to see our Moon Knight boy running around. And I hope we see more sales, more trepidation for this character in the future. People picking up this event, which is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. We spoke about this in just a previous episode as well. 3 appearances of Moon Knight, all in 3 distinct looks. I mean, we've got in this one, in Scarlet Spider 16, we have Mr. Knight, clearly seen. In the Daredevil issue 600, which came out also by Charles Soule, we have a classic caped Moon Knight, which is probably a close favourite or close second, I think, for me for this week. and of course you have Mark Spector shown on the Isle of Ra in the Moon Knight issue 193, which we just covered in the last episode. So 3 very distinct looks of Moon Knight. And Connor as well, I just wanted to post to you, Chad came up with a very interesting theory. I think he said that with Moon Knight 193, with the story that happened there, Moon Knight is kind of left with a almost like an army or a cult of Khonshu followers, and Chad was wondering, there's a possibility that there could be a few Moon Knights running around, and not necessarily all Mark Spector. What do you reckon of this hot take?
This hot take right off the press. I certainly hope it's something we might see come in the future. I'd almost love for it to be something we actually see later with some kind of imitation game. You know, the classic copycat trying to take on Moon Knight's reign. Possibly even be an admiration of him. Just the fun things we could probably see Bemis absolutely tear our hearts with and bloody it up.
Yeah, look, regardless of if that was the intent for the 3 appearances this week, as you say, Connor, I think that would be a fun thing to do if Bemis chooses to go down that path of having, it's nothing new. We've seen it before as well, actually. I'm thinking of, is it Batman Rises? We see, we see a lot of Batman impersonators in the movie, and there's, just real vigilantes, I guess. And the same could be said here. So, regardless of if that happens, if that happened this week, I'd love to see it happen maybe down the track for Moon Knight. Also, we covered Connor, the black and red Spidey person, of course, that is Kane, as you mentioned. Not present, but he usually pops up quite a lot in Scarlet Spy, does he not?
Yeah, he appeared in those issues. I believe you haven't read the 13 to... No, it was 11 to 14, I don't know.
Right, okay.
Those exact issues. Yeah, no, he was totally great. I think Peter Davin wrote him fantastically and super funny as well.
There's a bit of he wants to kill Ben Reilly, right? But there's almost like a brotherly love between them, isn't there?
Yeah. I think it's sort of developed in recent years. Yeah. There was a lot of hatred, but, almost in his absence, there had been some sort of want for Kane to protect him.
Okay. Well, yeah, look, I'm only saying that. There may have been something developed later on that I'm unaware of, but yeah, that was the sense that I got reading. Yeah, I think I'm up to issue 8 or something. So, I do like Kane, and it's a shame that he didn't appear. Is he still in Las Vegas as well, Connor, or?
Yeah, he's been Las Vegas since the start.
So where is he? Kane, sorry.
Yeah, Kane, Kind of popped in and buggered off. He's kind of international man of mystery.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I was about to say, if they called out Scarlet Spider in Las Vegas, it would make sense to call out Kane as well. But yeah, he might be somewhere else. Okay, well, thanks for that, Loonies. Thanks for that feedback. As always, you can feel free, please, to write into us. Either by email or actually we do get a lot of interaction on our Facebook group. So, just don't be shy to drop us a line. Tell us what you think of these issues that we do for review. Connor, what do we have next phase?
Next phase, we are carrying on with what has come before. We are continuing with our classic run with the Hulk magazine, Volume 1, Issue 13, The Big Blackmail, carrying on with our chronological saga of Moon Knight appearances. Our modern run has Moon Knight Volume 5, Issue 4, as we continue along the absolutely defining run of Houston's Part 4, the bottom Part 4, Interest in a Mirror, with our Phil, sorry if I mispronounce your name, Perrick? from Capes and Lunatics podcast, guest narrating another part of our collective.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to that as well, Phil. I know he's been raring to go as a narrator, so can't wait to hear him give those bare bones. Having said that, Connor, as well, I guess for Spectacle, again, and as you mentioned, Phil is, Capes and Lunatics are part of the collective, as are we, and the other podcasts from the Damnation podcast crossover event. So the likes of Sons of the Dragon, the Immortal Iron Fist podcast, Defenders TV podcast, and Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, they're all part of the collective, and it's just a repository to actually just share and bounce ideas off each other. Just a bit of networking. But they also do such great podcasts in their own right as well. So if you love following character-based podcasts or comic podcasts, please check out any of the members of the collective. They're really good. A good bunch of people as well. Having said that, Connor, as well, also. Being part of the Damnation crossover, just a reminder, I guess, what are the other parts in and around this coverage of Scarlet Spider 16?
As we've followed on from our coverage of Damnation, we have Sons of the Dragon, the Immortal Iron Fist podcast, with our let's say, part-time priest of Khonshu. Way of the Dragon, she follows. Rebecca joining the boys on the Immortal Iron Fist Sons of the Dragon podcast with their episode 70, part 7 of the Damnation crossover, where they review the fantastic Iron Fist issue 78. We have the Inner Demons then following up with their episode 22 of their own pod, part 9 of the Damnation crossover, their one-shot with Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. They're the ones that reviewed Damnation 3 as well, if you haven't checked that out. Defenders TV podcast have been covering the Doctor Strange tie-ins, as well as I believe they opened Damnation review with issue 1.
Oh, yeah, and just a little note as well, just for the listeners out there, just due to schedules as well, just keep an eye out on these podcasts as to when they come out. Not necessarily immediately after the release of the comics as well. It's just, I guess, life and life commitments and scheduling won't necessarily mean that they come out straight after release. But please do keep your eye out on their podcast and for the latest episodes to drop. Also, to help you with that, I'll put in the show notes, we have a webpage on our blog site. It's a Damnation podcast crossover schedule, so that will give you all the reviews up to date, links to all the reviews up to date, as well as a schedule showing which podcasts will cover which issue. So, as mentioned, this will be part 8 of the Damnation crossover. So the next one will be from Inner Demons part 9, and I think it just kind of rotates. I think the Defenders are in there with a fair few. We've only got one more, Connor, after this, so this has just flown by. Please make sure to keep your eye out on that as well, so you're up to date with all the upcoming episodes. And finally, Connor, I guess just a little thing on I Am Your Target Demographic.
Yes, I Am Your Target Demographic is a fantastic YouTube channel who's once again part of our collective. They do plenty of their own shows, their own coverage, plenty of stuff on culture and comics, around comics, adaptations, just plenty of research on comics and great discussion. They've also been hosting some fun, almost Q&A type questions with the rest of us in the collection. And sort of bouncing questions off of us, and getting some ideas out there, and hopefully furthering our listenership for all the podcasts maybe you aren't checking out within the collective. So check out I Am Your Target Demographic on YouTube, and if you go to our website, Into the Night podcast.wordpress.com, we've got a tab with everyone in the collective there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for this episode as well, I'll tag in a link to I'm Your Target Demographic. Really fun stuff for the collective. They release videos once a week asking all members of the collective particular questions. And so this next batch is pretty fun. So make sure you check that out if you can. Right, well, we are nearing the end of this episode, Connor. Just quickly, I'll just wrap this last bit up. You can obviously find us on email at moonknightpodcast@gmail.com. We have our blog site at intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com. That will include all our show notes and our episode summary, but also all our bare bones scripts as well. Also, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/ITKMoonKnight. That is our page, and our group, which has been very successful in interacting with like-minded Moon Knight fans, is facebook.com/groups/intothe-night. Also on Twitter, we have a presence there with at ITKMoonKnight. As well as on Instagram, Tumblr, and YouTube. It's just easy if you search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Finally, as well, we have a podcast page, so it has all our podcasts there available to download, and that's on our Libsyn website, which is intothenightLibsyn.com. So just go there and you can see an archive of all our episodes up to date. Finally, of course, all good podcast catchers, we're all on there. Please check us out, or tell those that you want to check us out as well. Okay, Connor. Well, that's it for this episode. Yeah. Are you? How? Are you? Have you got more issues to cover this weekend, or what's it like with your comic book stash?
Yes, my pull list is going ham. I am buying way too many a week, but sadly they're all so good. So I'll probably log off and get straight back into that.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've got to say as well, one Mr. Connor Stevens as well has actually sent me a copy of The Underwater Welder by Jeff Lemire. So thanks so much, Connor. Like a hardcover version. I can't wait to get into that. Anything by Lemire is gold. So I just wanted to shout that out. Yeah. Sorry?
Spread the gospel of Lemire.
Read the gospel of Lemire. Yeah, but no, I just wanted to say cheers, man. That was really, really nice. So yeah, I've got plenty of reading to do as well. Right. Well, having said that, I guess we just we leave it as it is. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode, which we've crossed the 1 hour mark, so hopefully you're finding time for us and plenty of the other amazing podcasts running about.
Yeah.
And once again, thanks to Rebecca and Chad
for
being so great on the episode.
Absolutely.
I wasn't there for.
Yep, and as we always say, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Yeah.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.